I said, what would you do different? You know, like if you started again, and like Jake Goodwin at the Rare Barrel told me, he says like, don't do it. Like,
are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is C Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 137 of Beer and Other Shit, the podcast. This afternoon, we are in glorious Canada, Ontario, just outside of Ottawa, with Sean McVeigh of Small Pony Barrel. What's this made? Small Apparel? That could be anything.
Small Apparel.
Well,
Pony Works.
There you go. Much better name. Changed it, mate. Thank you for having us. Pleasure to be here. Ruined the name up front, but it's okay.
It's cool. It's cool.
It's more fun that way, right? It's complicated. Never had to say that
My dad gets it wrong.
Does he?
I think so. It's Small Barrel Pony Works sometimes, so that happens.
I think that's probably what I went to say. Maybe I should have practiced it first. That's hilarious. First time out here. This place is sick, dude. I've had a bunch of your beers, and they are exceptional. So it's nice to get to drink them with your fine self in front of the barrels.
Yeah.
Where they're cooking away.
They are. They're resting right now.
Just chilling.
Resting, chilling.
How many barrels you got?
There's 160 in
Nice.
here. 160 wine barrels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, are they all different?
So they're all red wine barrels originally. So used in vineyards in the Napa Valley in California.
Nice.
So they all took a cross country road trip to come up and
Very cool.
and rest here from now on
Nice.
because we'll use them indefinitely.
Right, just
Yeah.
keep cruising.
Keep them going. Wineries use these barrels for about 4 years before they the oak flavors get stripped out by the wines that they're making. So you get like a nice red wine. Usually you've got like a nice oaky, tannin forward red wine from California or Bordeaux or wherever. That's usually like pretty fresh oak when you're tasting that. And then like the second year, third year, it just diminishes a bit until about after 4 years, the wineries will they'll discard those barrels and they'll bring in fresh new barrels so they can continue blending and getting those nice oaky flavors they like in their wines. But it's perfect for me because I don't want a bunch of like strong oaky tannins in my beers. I just want to use them as fermenters and as containers that breathe nice and slowly over time to let flavors develop. Yeah,
That's cool. That makes sense.
Yeah, so we'll use them indefinitely here too until they fall apart or
That's good. Like
start
no
making vinegar.
waste. Start making vinegar.
yeah. If we have a barrel that because that's happened. If we have
Yeah.
something that starts putting out vinegar,
Then-
we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
And if it happens again,
It's over.
it becomes
Becomes a table.
furniture.
Which is so it's consistently reused. It's very environmentally friendly out here. Sustainable is the word I'm looking for. I love it. What are we drinking right now?
So this beer is our raspberry golden sour beer called Jam Hands. We first made this last year in 2018. It's a beer that we do. Most of our beers we only do once.
Right.
Or like if we really like them or people really like them, we'll do them again. But
Okay.
we're constantly doing new things. This is one beer that we've done several times now because it was so popular. So
I can see why.
it comes out about twice a year now, right around Valentine's Day, and then
Perfect.
sometimes in the summer as well.
Okay.
So this is
This is like this is just the leftovers.
yeah, this is the we have a keg on right now. The bottles are all gone now, but we still have a keg on tap. So
Fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
this one I've had this one before as well. This is great. It's I was actually thinking just before, is there much of a difference with your beers in the bottle versus draft at all? Like, do you find because of the barrel aging stuff?
you know, I haven't done a lot of side by side comparison, but the only difference, because I mean they come out of the same barrels. We put them into our tank here, blend them, and then we take kegs off first, and then all of our beers are bottle conditioned.
Okay.
So we do
Keg
some. We've done
conditioned
some
too,
keg
or-
conditioned
okay.
beers, but we've sort of pulled back from doing that. So like bottle conditioning is where you add a bit of sugar to the beer before it goes in the bottle, and then the
styles.
yeast that's in there will eat up the sugar and create the carbonation. So that's
Right.
how the beers carbonate, and it takes like 4 to 8 weeks for a beer to carbonate. That's why you see so many empty, like unlabeled bottles here just sitting around. They're just waiting. They're carbonating up. But yeah, we tried doing a few kegs that way a little while back, and found that it just limited us to like because not every bar will handle those correctly because there'll be like some sediment in the bottom of the kegs.
Right.
And if you don't send those kegs to the right bar, they may shake it up and it may just pour all cloudy and not be what we want. So we've pulled back and started more forced carbonating most of our kegs. But then as soon as we package the kegs, we then just add the bit of sugar that we need and then bottle the beers off the same batch. So they're basically the same.
Shouldn't be too different.
No, I haven't noticed a huge difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't think off the top of my head from when I had it. It wasn't that long
Yeah.
ago, I guess, if there is much of a difference. But it drinks nice. I just feel like this type of beer isn't something you would drink on draft very often, which is probably where the thought came from. Is that accurate, or am I maybe boosting the reach in
I
there?
don't know. Like, there's a lot of places that like to have these kind of beers on tap, but it's like we mostly do bottles here, but we're really trying to do more draft in the future so we can have a presence at more restaurants and cool places in Toronto and around.
Very cool.
Because it's hard to take an expensive bottle and with the restaurant markup, it's hard to put that on a menu for $40 or $30 or $40 because it's definitely sharing size bottles, right?
The 750 which is sick. Okay, cool. That makes sense. So let's get into your beer story, dude. Like, how did you get into beer, and then how did that lead to this glorious establishment?
Yeah, so I guess I started homebrewing, and that's where it all came out of. So I was homebrewing about, I guess started back into it about 6 years ago. Okay. I'd done a little stint of it in university, and then that was really, really basic homebrewing, like just go to the store, buy a can, make this like extract. Yeah, exactly. And this was a while ago, and we were more homebrewing because we thought that was a cheaper way to make beer back then. And so we did it once or twice and said, well, it's not super awesome. It was good enough when I was 20 or whatever.
Budget friendly.
Right. But then I got out of it for years, and then I had actually, it was a friend of mine in Sweden. There's a connection there. It's his sister that makes all our label art. She's the designer in Sweden. But a friend of mine in Sweden, when I was over there visiting, had introduced me to a ginger beer he had made. Okay. Like just straight up ginger, brown sugar, lime. Like it was like a nice homemade ginger beer. And I said, that's awesome. I got to get back into doing that kind of stuff. And so he told me his recipe. I went home and I made some, and I got all my old equipment out and said, I got to get back into brewing beer because I have all the stuff to do it. So I started homebrewing, joined there's a group in Ottawa called the Mob, the Members of Barleyment.
Just heard about that.
Which I know Justin and Mark are involved in over at Stray Dog as well. So it's like a community of like 700 homebrewers or something in Ottawa in the area. So like super friendly, helpful community. Everybody shares. Everybody, we get together, have a party in the summer. Everybody shares hops. You need yeast. They've got it. Right. So got in with those guys, started brewing again at home. So the first year I was brewing at home, I made like 26 different beers. Okay. Like different styles of beers. Yeah. Exactly. Non-sour beers, but just like I was like, I'm going to go through this like homebrewing book and try every single one I could and see what beers I like. Okay. And then got around to doing like these sour beers, and they took a bit longer and were a little more challenging. And I made my first like Berliner Weiss beer, like a nice like wheat, sour wheat beer. And a friend of mine had a little bit of competition at his house where everybody said, everybody's going to make a Berliner Weiss. We're going to come out. We're going to taste them and see how they are. Okay. And I tried mine. I said, this is really good. I like it. And then I got there, and I participated in the judging too. And it was the one that I picked as last, like the worst one. Right. Everybody else had made better ones. Right. And I was like, okay, well, how's everybody doing it different than me? What's different? Like I had done a kettle soured Berliner Weiss this way, and then I learned that other people were making, using wild yeasts and all this other kind of stuff, and like aging them more longer term, not necessarily in barrels, but like more just like a longer term sour beer program where you like put the yeast and the bacteria, everything together, you let it all live together in the beer for a couple of months. And then you get way more depth of character and like interesting notes in it. And I found all those beers to be much more interesting than the one I had made, which was kind of one-dimensional. So that's when I said, well, geez, can I say shit on the beer and other shit podcast?
You can say any word you like.
Yeah, so I said, oh shit, I'm going to try doing all this other stuff. Right. And I started following some of their ideas, and like, so these sour beers can take a long time to make. Right. Like some of them can take like a year or like 6 months or whatever they were. So I started experimenting with those while I was still making some other beers. But of course, the time to, like the turnaround time is so long that you don't get the feedback to change what you've done like until later. So it was probably about 3 years into homebrewing before I finally like said, these are definitely my favorite thing to make now. Right. And then I got a barrel for home. It's not this one, but one of them in here is my barrel from my basement. That's sick. Which was the first one I ever had. And I like spent all of the Christmas break brewing and filling it because it's like 60 gallons. And most of them brews, you're doing like, I think 10. I did 15 gallons at a time. So I brewed 4 days to fill it. I had a pretty big setup at home by then. I started smaller and then gradually got bigger. And and then I had to wait like 9 months before I could taste it and decide whether it was
It was
any good,
good.
right?
That's a hard
So it was
part.
cool. So what I did actually was, at that point, I took like half of that barrel out and put it in a bunch of like containers with different fruits to try.
Nice.
And then I brewed again and topped that barrel up, and then left it for another 9 months or whatever. But like all those original fruit beers I made.
Was that like the one we tried earlier?
Yeah,
The-
exactly. That was that
the
2.5 or 3 year old beer that we just tasted.
That was
I
crazy.
I had some bottles in my basement at home that we had bought an apricot beer at the store, and so I said, "Oh, I've got one at home that I made. We should taste them together." But
it
yeah,
went well.
it was good. But yeah, so like that's kind of how I got into it. And then at that point, I was sitting there looking at this big barrel of beer in my basement, going like, "This is too much beer to drink.
Like, what am
I need
gonna
more
do with all
friends.
this?
Can I sell it to people?" And there's totally no legal way to like sell your homebrew to people.
Of course, yeah.
And like even people, could they chip in and we'll all brew it together or whatever. So like I ended up starting to look into what I would need to do to actually be able to produce volumes of beer, right?
Was this after you realized that you could do it well?
Yeah, well, it was around this. It kind of all happened together, right?
Right.
It was a process of thinking about it while I was doing
While
it.
you're doing it, and
Yeah,
then you
yeah.
tried it like you tried it at the end. You're like, all right, good.
Yeah, I thought it came out okay, and
Okay.
I was that far
I
along
can
in,
make this work.
in planning.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was also talking to a friend who was opening a brewery locally, and maybe partnering up with him. But then I figured I can't necessarily do my own thing if I'm doing what he's doing. And then I started looking into what's actually required to do it. I said, how many barrels can I fit in my basement? Because I have a friend who has a home brew, like a commercially licensed brewery. In his garage. It's Evergreen
Right.
Craft Ales in Ottawa. He's actually now, finally, a couple of years later, moving into a bigger facility. But he had,
Right.
for years, been running basically a homebrew, like a big homebrew system in his garage,
Right.
but totally licensed, totally retailing, everything.
to-
Like
Wow.
so, there were a couple good models of like, here's a small brewery friends of mine are starting. Here's a brewery that runs out of this guy's garage, and I was trying to think, can I do this at home? But I live like not near
Like,
people.
right.
I live a bit more in the country, so I was like, no one's ever going to come out here. I'm going to have to put another septic system in.
Right.
I could maybe fit 50 barrels here, but then I'm in my house, right?
Yeah.
So I started looking around and ended up landing here. So that's
Right. And when was that? When?
I got the keys here just over 2 years ago. So we,
Right.
2017, right around Christmas ish, and then just started building the brewery. Like started going, and got the barrels up from California in like March, I think, and started brewing by May, and we didn't open until December. So it was like a good 7 months. Because obviously we can't, like, not like another brewery, you can't just like get all your equipment here and then start selling beer in 3 weeks.
Right. No.
It was like a long
whole
wait.
process.
So
So you only opened like less than 6 months ago.
no, a year and a bit.
A year and
It's
a
been
bit.
a year and a bit.
Oh, you
so
opened
Christmas
at the end of-
2017
Okay, I'm
was when
sorry.
we opened.
Gotcha,
End of
gotcha.
2017. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's sick. So it's been relatively like far. Like that's a pretty quick journey, I guess, from the conception to making it all happen and everything.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's probably been like 3 years since the idea
That's sick.
started. So
Right.
that's good. Yeah.
Okay, sick. And then as far as like the you decided to make the sour beers and that being like the exact stuff you wanted to make. I mean, that's pretty cool because you're sort of essentially now a brewery and blendery.
Yeah.
Really, that's what you're sort of about. Like you're not doing anything else. Like that was always, I guess, the intention, and I guess it's probably filling quite a need. There's nothing else I can think of locally. that
In
doesn't-
Canada, I don't even think there is.
Anything, right?
Like, so when I was in planning, I actually went and flew out to Portland, Oregon, and met with a couple brewers there, and then did a nice road trip all the way down the coast to San
Nice.
Diego, and like met with all these brewery owners out there at like like DeGard or the Rare Barrel or
Nice.
various places, and like had really good conversations. This is the one thing I really like about the brewing industry is everybody is super friendly,
Yes.
and super helpful, and everybody just wants to see somebody else get their thing going. And I think it's like a what goes around comes around kind of thing too. Like
Yeah.
anybody who comes in and talks to me, I'll like tell them whatever they want to know. I give them yeast,
right,
whatever
No
they
big deal.
want.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of rare.
But so I had looked to the States where this was happening already because I said, well, I really like these sour beers, and actually the spark of opening a brewery started when we were sitting around drinking Rodenbach
Okay.
at Christmas one year, because that beer would only come out at Christmas for like a week and it was gone. You couldn't find it anymore. And so if you knew what LCBO it was going to, you could get like 6 bottles, but then it was gone. And somebody said, like, why is nobody doing this here if people want it and
Right.
they can't get it, right? So that's when I started thinking, and that's when I started, planning.
Having to, right.
But then looking down to the States, like sour beer is a thing that's been happening there for like a good 10 plus years. Like when you look to Russian River and New Belgium, like they've started 10 plus years ago on these things. And then you got some of the newer brewers like De Garde or the Rare Barrel or...
Is Cascade newer?
Cascade's been around for a fair bit, I think. I'm not sure exactly how long, but they're in the more like the 5 to 10 year range, I think. It's been a while, but they're like an all sour beer brewery. So is the Rare Barrel. So is
like side project.
Yeah. Maybe.
Like
sure.
Casey in Colorado.
Casey, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he's old.
So it's definitely a thing that's more mature in the States. And I was just thinking like.
There's really nothing here.
No. So I think I was the first like sour beer brewery in Canada.
Wow.
To open. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And then I was talking with Matt Waugh at like Deep Dark Wood, and he's like, "What do you mean the first? When did you open?" And I said, like this date." And he said, okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Is there others since?
There's a couple. I think I'm not sure whether there's specifically. Like I know Half Hours on Earth got started.
Of course.
About a year before me. Halcyon, Bryce out at Halcyon there started. But these guys are also making other farmhouse beers and other things. They're not just doing that.
Just that,
which is, I mean, that's a great model because you can make. Some beers that you can release while you're waiting for your other beers to be ready.
Yeah.
But, like a lot of breweries are, like if you look at Bellwoods or something, they've got great IPAs, great everything. They have a great sour program. Like a lot of these breweries have like a good broad range of things, right? And that'd be awesome. I would love to be able to subsidize what I'm doing with some other cheaper...
Would you?
Cheaper beer. No, I'm not. I don't plan to.
No.
I don't. I want it to stay on brand.
It's kind of
cool,
just
do the one thing.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it done in the States successfully, and I said, like, these guys are doing it. And
Why
they told
can't you
me,
do it?
and when I was talking to them, I said, what would you do different? Like if you started again. And like Jake Goodwin at the Rare Barrel told me, he says, like, don't do it. Like, I wouldn't do it. So this was a lot of like you're going to be, your biggest challenge will be education, like letting people know what you're making because it's like new here. Nobody knows what sour beers are. Some people come in, they're like, do you have like an IPA?
Yeah.
Like, no. But thankfully, we're in like a bit of a brewery district here.
So you can be like, when I get the sour seed, you can just pop in next door.
Yeah, go next door. Big Rig, Caliburgi.
Right.
These guys are here.
You got the other stuff.
Yeah.
That is kind of cool. I think there's ballsy, but it's also, I think it's needed, and it's almost like you're the trailblazer, so it's going to be harder for you. But then once you do it, like you're going to be the OG of that, and then you own the space, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's sick, man.
I just wanted to focus on one thing and do it good if I could. Right? It's like the steam whistle model, right? Like make one thing well.
One thing well. Bro, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Genuine
no problem,
pleasure,
man.
We finally
Awesome to finally meet you. Yeah,
man. Glad to be here. Where can the good folk find Small Pony online?
SmallPonyBarrelworks.com is our online store.
Yep.
So the only places to get our beer are here.
Yep.
On the online store, and of
that
course
ships anywhere in the province.
Anywhere in Ontario right now until that changes in the future, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
We're at the whim of Canada Post, unfortunately, so it's costs a bit of money. So ordering more beer is better than less beer.
Stacking up.
We'll probably be doing something by the time this comes out. We'll be announcing some sort of flat rate shipping. I'm hoping.
Yes.
Fingers crossed. Instead of like $30 a case,
right.
It'll be better.
Yeah.
Much better. Any of the really good, specialty beer bars around Toronto, Ottawa, Kingston, occasionally Hamilton.
Yep.
And as I said, we do one beer year round for the LCBO. It's Half Remembered Dream,
Yep.
and that is Ottawa, Hamilton, Waterloo, Guelph, Toronto. Yeah,
Yep.
4 stores in Toronto right now, I think. Anyways, there's like 20-ish stores that we do for the LCBO. So
that's pretty good.
Try to cover the major areas as best as we can.
I love it. Social media, is it Small Pony Barrel Works?
Good question. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on Twitter.
Yep.
Twitter's the only one where it's different because it's Small Pony Beer. Everything else is Small Pony Barrel Works.
Perfect.
Because it doesn't quite fit on Twitter.
There's 15 character limit. I forgot to ask you real quick. Can you give a TLDR on why the name Small Pony?
Oh, geez, I should have brought him today. So Small Pony Barrel Works is named after a stuffed animal that I bought for my wife about 15 years ago now, maybe.
Okay.
It's been a while ago. We didn't have any kids, any pets. Got this little stuffed horse for Christmas, and he would come on road trips with us, go to the cottage, hang out. He's like our house mascot.
Right.
So he's the Small Pony. And he's got overalls now. He's got everything, man.
He's working. He's working
like,
in the brewery.
Yeah.
I love it. That's perfect. I forgot to ask earlier, right? Legend, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Guys, if you enjoyed the episode, mate, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell so you know when the new drops. Follow us on social media at BAOS Podcast, and check out the long form audio, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you can hear very attractive gentlemen like Uncle Sean here talk about craft beer. That is it, guys. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Get in ya.
Cheers.
Cheers.